that I wanted to mention before we dive into the presentation is that you are going to see some examples of the kind of work that we are doing at Yellowdig to push the boundaries of what's possible with AI. And these examples are actually, I would say, what I call is in the kitchen right now for us. So we are working on it actively with our partners. And hopefully this will give you some ideas about what's possible. If this is exciting to you, hopefully we can have more conversations and see how we can make it more useful and relevant for higher education. That's our goal. The other thing I want to mention is that the word intentionality came up quite a few times. Like yesterday, there was a comment I think, Sean, you made, is that what's the pedagogy of AI? You know, OpenAI is a great tool, but does it have a pedagogy inbuilt? Probably not, right? Because they are trying to sell as many licenses as possible. They are a business. But it's on us to figure out how do we take that capability that they have built and build intentionality into the products that we are building. So hopefully you'll see some examples of that, the way we are thinking about it. We don't claim that's the right way because we are trying to figure it out with our partners. So that's how we are thinking about it. The second point I want to mention is you're going to see that in the examples today is what can we do with these AI models where we do not only have to rely on what's available in the open market, but we can actually take them and actually build around it. What does it mean to build around it, meaning using their capabilities, either using their APIs that are available? So I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to throw some technical jargons which may not mean much to you, but it'll probably give you an idea what's possible here. So this is what we intend to do, and we also have some examples around how we are thinking about AI as an organization in terms of policy, what are the guide rails we are putting around our strategies around AI. So hopefully this would be good examples for you, but if you have questions, conversations, let's have a conversation towards the end of it. So with that, I'll pass it on to Brian. Brian, if you want to kind of say something and we can dive in.
So I'm sure you all feel like the AI is a little bit of the Wild West, and I think that fits with a lot of the conversations we've had. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully that reference is not too old for most of you. But I think the good of AI is that it can improve human performance if it's used well. It can actually be used to reinforce human connection. And if you think about humans and computers being complements to one another, you can leverage it in a lot of really interesting ways. From a sort of teaching or learning perspective, the reality is that it's already transforming the world, and we have to teach our students about that if we want them to continue to transform the world. The bad, I think we all know, and maybe I'll skip that because we're a little bit behind because of the technical issues. The ugly is obviously all of the potentially sort of dystopian futures. Somebody said about Terminator the other day or earlier today. What we're trying to do at Yellowdig is definitely get the good and avoid the bad and the ugly. And I think we have to just be mindful of that as people that are creating learning experiences for people. And that's really the way that I think about my job, is sort of facilitating all of you who are going out and really creating these experiences for students that are ultimately going to shape their entire lives. And we want to make sure that is good and not bad or ugly. In talking about this presentation, we thought it would be helpful or maybe reassuring to talk about how we're thinking about AI at Yellowdig. And my group yesterday actually was talking about how admins would create policies for their institutions. And so it felt like we should probably do that for ourselves. Essentially our pledge is to try to make Yellowdig more equitable, enjoyable, safe, and effective using AI. And if we keep our focus on doing that, I think we'll make the right decisions in general. We also always take care of your data as much as we possibly can. We're collecting the thoughts and experiences of a lot of people. We want to safeguard that, and one of the worries about AI is that information sort of leaking across boundaries that we all think are important for various different reasons. So one of the other things that we're sort of promising to do is always make sure that we protect the PII that we do house and other intellectual property. So one of our pledges is that we will not sort of allow that data to leak across those boundaries based on what people already have access to in the platform. What we wanted to talk about was the ways in which Yellowdig is already using AI or is planning to use AI. So the first one that you might not know about is a few years ago we took all of Yellowdig's data and put it into some machine learning stuff to to predict basically what would maximize students' participation in the platform, and this led to the community health area within our platform. Sort of how do we say whether a community is healthy, and then we basically trained AI to find the point setups that were going to create the healthiest communities, and essentially train the model, and then we started using it to figure out what were the optimal point settings, and that is what led to the presets that you see in the platform with this little drop down. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. There's a standard setting, there's sort of a difficult setting and an easy setting in terms of the amount of participation that you wanted and sort of how students would perceive it as being difficult or hard. So that's already in the platform, and we've been using that model to also try to consult better with the institutions that we're working with and to make recommendations on if they're sort of setting institutional presets, what they should and shouldn't do, and to start with, right? And then we try to adjust as we collect more data. So that's one way we've already used AI. I often joke we were doing it before it was cool, but those settings in the platform are really intentional. So one thing that I would say, if you're using Yellowdig or if you have anybody that is going to use it, I really, really strongly recommend you start with those and only adjust it after that if you really feel like there's something that's not achieving the goal that you personally are looking for or your institution is looking for. One other way that we've been focusing on AI is to make the experience more equitable. And one of the features that we sort of recently released is auto-captioning for video. So any video that gets uploaded into Yellowdig or that is captured within the platform, you can record video like I did here, obviously, right from within the platform. That will be automatically captioned, and if you click the little hamburger menu there at the top right of a video, you'll have the option to download captions or to edit those captions. And because AI is not perfect, it often misrecognizes Yellowdig, sometimes in worse ways than that. But you know, you can easily go in and edit it and be able to then have the caption reflect what was actually said. So that is another way that we've been trying to improve the experience. And this is a small screen, but when you maximize it, it's not over top of my face the whole time.
I was just curious of what your capture rate was. What's the accuracy of it? Have you figured out?
Whatever Amazon's, it's taught on. I mean, we're an Amazon housed data set, so that's where the data is being processed, basically. for that. They don't store it, but that whatever that is, and then that's obviously the state of the art as far as, or one of them. I mean, I'm sure Google wouldn't like me saying that, but as far as recognition, that's what it is.
Brian, if there's already a video that's uploaded that has captioning, it doesn't override that, does it?
That is a really good question. I don't think that it does. If it's embedded in the video, it doesn't override it for sure. Yeah. I'll have to. That's a good question. Yeah. We are planning on adding at some point the ability to upload captioning files, so that you could, if it was already captioned, you can do that.
Well, just we have faculty have a lot of videos that are pre-built already and stored in video, and they would be uploading.
There's a manual way of adding captions to videos when you upload it. So we have that option. So that might have to be done manually.
Yeah, we just don't want to redo the work, so we can talk
about one other way that we've been using AI is just in our knowledge base. So we have easy way to ask a bot a question. Oh, I'm not being loud enough. Okay. We have an easy way to ask the bot a question inside of our knowledge base, and that's been trained on our actual knowledge base, on support tickets that we've answered, on sort of support macros that we have that we send out for common support problems or questions, on blogs, and on various parts of our internal pedagogy information. One of the big goals of that, and Michael talked about this earlier, is AI is good at giving you an answer. It's not always good at giving you the why, and it's not always good at giving you a clue about whether it's accurate or not, or how sure it is of the answer. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is build some of this other documentation in to be able to get to the not only the nuts and bolts sort of support answer, but why, and how to teach. Ooh, nice. Magic. I've been talking so much, it's really hard to project honestly right now. So I think to get to sort of the helpful advice part of it, right? The this is why you should do it. If you explain to human beings why they should do something, they're much more likely to actually do it, and like learn from that experience themselves as they're going. All right. I think, one other thing that I think a lot of people sort of worry about with Yellowdig, and I think it's almost entirely unfounded in reality, but they worry that sort of bad actors within a community are going to post something that needs to be recognized and addressed in some way. There was an earlier Star Wars reference, so I'm glad that I'm in good company, I think. But as an example, we are building a sort of toxicity detector into our platform right now. And it will sort of identify things that are insults or otherwise sort of toxic to good community development, aggressive behavior or anything like that. And this is an example of a rather mild insult that I put in, and came up with a score of 28 for that. So this goes to 100. But essentially what we're doing is recognizing that there might be a post there that is not good, and just making it easy for the instructor to decide whether it is good or not, and whether they want to allow it and to pull it down if not. And so if you were to hit remove, it uses our sort of regular moderation pipeline from there to explain why something was pulled down. Go ahead. it would only be facilitators right now. We can talk to people about whether they want it to be able to see for students. One of the problems with telling students that something is toxic or whatever directly is that they can change and try to beat the system while still communicating the same thing. So humans are really good at using things like emojis to to bypass or to use a different word to bypass something. So we thought it's better to just send it to the instructor and say, hey, this might be a problem, and you act on it. And that is where we're trying to sort of toe the line between technology helping and replacing the instructor. It's a real important learning lesson for students to realize that these things are not appropriate. And if AI just straight up blocked it, they might not really get that lesson. And I can tell you right now, in Slack at our company, if somebody is being toxic in Slack, it's going to be a lot different. They're not going to get a little warning that, hey, this post is not probably okay at work or whatever, right? They need to learn those lessons. They need to learn to actually interact with other people. So that's kind of why we went with that model. Heidi, did you have
It's basically this.
Okay. But happy to have conversations about changing any of this stuff, honestly, if there's, things that would work better for you. You want to talk about this one?
So one other thing, as we have a quick live demo to show you. Awesome. Great, this is easy. So we wanted to show you a quick demo of how we are using LLMs, which is out there, like ChatGPTs, but creating inside the platform. What we are going to show you is an example. It's not in prod. We are still working on it. Brian, okay, this is the community. Awesome. So I want you to imagine a little bit, which is, for those of you who have used Yellowdig, one of the questions we often get from our instructors is that, hey, I'm getting into a class, I've used Yellowdig my students are using it. I don't have time to go through every post and comment to see what is being discussed. Can you give me a quick idea? What should I talk about? What are the 5 themes that I should be mentioning in my class? This has come up again and again. The problem domain for this is summarization. So how do I summarize what has been discussed? There may be 50 or 100 posts and comments into like 5 sentences so that I can get a quick idea, get into the class, and have a conversation. So here, so Brian, if you just open that chat button, and
It already fired it.
oh, I already probably just typed it up, which is show top 5 themes. And you can redo it, Brian, if you will like it. So what's happening here is, and I'll give you a little bit of a technical primer here because we have been talking about technology behind it. How are we building this thing? Which is what's happening here is that we are using OpenAI's APIs, which is available, but we are not sending any data to OpenAI because that would be kind of breach of our contract. We can't send that data to them. There are all sorts of conversation that's happening in Yellowdig. We can't make that available to that public database. So we have what we call is a vector database within our firewall where all this posts and comments gets pushed out. It gets basically tagged. It's kind of, there's a mining process that happens, and we use OpenAI's APIs to make sense out of that data. So the data is never being passed on to OpenAI, but we are using it behind our firewall to essentially create this summary, which kind of reads like the top 5 are the balance between structure and free-willing discussions and blah, 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 like 5 things. And Brian, maybe we give it another try, like what's the student sentiment? Maybe let's ask that question. So you see it's loading right now, so it's doing the calculation. And oh, look, the overall sentiment of this community is positive. This is our instructor community. Hopefully that's great, right? So there's nothing negative going on, no bad talks or whatnot. And then users are generally supportive of each other, often expressing gratitude, appreciation, all this great stuff. So this gives you an example, like what's possible, and we are starting to build this out into the platform. This is not in prod yet. What we mean by prod is that the way we build things is we typically will do beta in our dev environment. We'll try it out. We'll go and talk to partners, see if they have interest in this feature. Should we invest in this feature? And then we'll take it to prod, meaning we'll kind of operationalize the whole process, which will take its own kind of investment and things like that. So hopefully this gives you an idea what this, some examples. And this is something I also want to kind of mention is, one thing we realize is that one of the tools that are publicly available, like ChatGPT and then other tools which are becoming available, is going to be available for every company. 5 years from now, everybody will have the same tools. They will all have learned how to use it and see the value out of it. I think the real opportunity lies in using our own data to create tools around it, which we can make it available to our users, to our students and others. So this is an area, an opportunity for us, but there are a whole bunch of questions around privacy, policies, making sure the PII doesn't get leaked out and things like that. So this is an area we would love to have more conversations with you as we go down this road. So Brian, over to you.
So just a quick review, these are the things that we currently are doing within the sort of framework that we build out around our own AI policy: equitable, enjoyable, safe, and effective. And so we'll hopefully be releasing some of these very soon, or with additional development and hopefully interaction with all of you. One thing that I'm trying to increasingly do is make sure that I'm talking to people and getting the best ideas into the platform and making sure that we're actually building this thing to serve the people that are going to be using it. And that's a wrap. I've written a couple blogs on this. I would recommend checking out if you're interested in it. That's it. Thank you.
No, thank you so much.
We can take one or two questions if there are any. Yeah.
I have a question that's not really a question. To cheat or not to cheat is an incredible post. We've used it in our faculty development at the UCF AI conference. We alluded to it. So please, if you're interested in and you need help with academic integrity and AI stuff, Brian did a phenomenal job with that.
Quick question over here. Thank you for sharing all this. I'm also wondering, as you're thinking about potential for leveraging Gen AI tools and things, have you looked into like linguistic markers and things, so as you're having communities, it starts to flag certain students who may, through their linguistic expressions, you go, oh, this person is dealing with this problem, and that's not what the post is about, but somebody should be aware of it.
Yes, we're definitely interested in pursuing that. A couple of the things that we showed today are really the sort of lead up to doing some of that, right? So the toxicity detection really requires that we're sort of walling that data off and are able to send it off and get it processed in specific ways. So there's a lot of ways that we're thinking about building on sort of post insights in general, and then also kind of tracking student behavior over time and hopefully understanding how behavior patterns really emerge to give you information that you couldn't get from any single post. You know, if a student posts one thing that's a little toxic, you might never detect it. And if they continue to have a pattern of behaving that way, maybe it's something that you would specifically want to help them understand or learn from in the long run. And so we're definitely thinking in that direction.
If I could just real quick. So one of the places like I've learned working with some linguists, like if somebody uses the word kinda quite a bit, it's actually a flag that I'm feeling imposter syndrome. I kinda do this kind of. And so besides, so it wasn't really toxicity, it was sort of like other awareness of.
Right. No. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we're definitely going. From a business perspective, the toxicity thing is the thing that a lot of people worry about, right? And so we kind of, you know, if you ever wonder why companies do certain things, it's often because the market is asking them for it. So an interesting thing about the tool like interchange is we have to have these conversations, and truthfully, you get what you ask for in the long run. Whether that's good or bad, a lot of times that is the reality.
And one thing I just want to add to that is this toxicity score model is an internal model that we have built to index the data and identify that behavior pattern, which gives us the option to actually extend that model to identify other behavior patterns in the way we would like to do it. So we have made the investment now, which is kind of, we are exploring that one area right now, but hopefully in the future we can extend it to other kind of examples which are very specific to education. That's the hope.